Hi guys, I'm Ezelle from The Upcoming. It's lovely to speak to you both and congratulations on this fantastic series, The Doll Factory. So perhaps you could just start by telling us a little bit about this beautiful adaptation of the book from Elizabeth McNeill. What could you expect when they watch The Doll Factory?
They can expect art, they can expect obsession, passion, love. It's
Magic.
It's magic. It's a magical world, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is.
And it's a story about Iris, first and foremost, someone who is, I suppose, like everyone, trying to forge their own destiny. But she's doing it in a world that can be very hostile, can be very frightening, can be very threatening. And it's her story of, I suppose, discovering her own individuality, her own creativity, her own sexuality, and in some way, I guess, it's about a whole host of characters who are in this mad time of change.
And that are all extremely curious.
Yeah.
I think that the man in this story's curiosity turns into obsession, but I think the woman in this story are extremely curious, and Iris's curiosity sort of comes at, unfortunately, a huge price, and so does Bluebell's, but it's a price that they're both sort of willing to pay.
Perhaps you could talk to us about your character, Silas, in this. You're sort of an outsider that wants to fit in.
Yeah.
So that's a real theme through there, and also got this kind of morbid undertones to you as a taxidermist. So could you talk about that and what it was about the script by Charlie Miles that kind of drew you in and made you want to be a part of this?
I loved the script. I loved the script. I just loved I loved what Charlie was doing with the writing. It was very, I don't know, it was kind of, is mysterious and a weirdness to it, and you got a real sense of your character from what she had sort of, from the dialogue, I think every character speaks in a very individual way in this show, which is a testament to a great writer. And I think you could tell she loved what she was writing about as well. And actually, yeah, I think that's the perfect word. Outsider. He's definitely an outsider. He sees himself as that. Like, I'm the guy who's outside looking in, and that's very true for lots of people in that world. Because even more so than now, it was such a stratified society, and if you were, if you weren't born into that kind of privilege where you could do what you wanted, then your life was sort of written out for you and mapped out for you. And he's a fascinating character in that he's not going to accept that. He wants to forge his own destiny like Iris does, like a lot of the characters in the story.
I think that now, after having met Elizabeth McNeill and then following her on social media, she's quite an artist herself, and she's quite a crafty person and is very talented in many different genres of art than not just writing. And I think that you can really feel like this book really feels like it was written by an artist who cares a lot about art and has a massive curiosity and passion for it, and it's handled with such care, and every character really feels like she really enjoyed creating that character and she loves them in their own equal formats. And Bluebell is a character that I think I've always sort of wanted to play, and I think it feels quite a passionate, sort of dangerous line to tread with somebody that has made quite a definitive decision within themselves that they will be who they are and they will speak the truth no matter really what that results in, because there's not much really to lose.
And I think, like you say, her writing, there's a real, with the women in this, there's a real kind of sense of their bodies are kind of a character too, because for you kind of play this artist muse, and then also you're Lady of the Night in this as well. So what was that like? How did you kind of prepare for that? I mean, it's a world away from where you were in Derry Girls as well, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. The school uniform is definitely off. I think it was great, and I think what Eanna was saying earlier, that you just sort of take it step by step with your character. And I think that that's sort of moonlighting between two jobs for Bluebell, for being this model and working as a sex worker and, possibly also working as a waitress on this bar. I think I sort of approached it from that angle, that I have massive respect for that, and it's something I can definitely relate to, juggling loads of jobs at one time and trying to make ends meet. And I think the fact that Bluebell is able to mix with people that are above her station or her class, she's able to hold a conversation and keep them interested and make them want to be around her, is something that's so fascinating and tantalising. And I mean, it just speaks volumes about women as well. They're like, it's why 98% of marketing in our world is always revolved around women and their bodies. Nothing has really changed. And I think even given the time, Bluebell's really taken that ownership for herself. So it was something that I was delighted to do.
And for you, obviously, you have this kind of obsessive relationship with Iris, played by Esme Creed-Miles. But I love this bit at the beginning where you sort of see each other through the trees. It kind of reminds me a bit of that Romeo and Juliet fish tank moment. And obviously, you both say you're kind of a pair of unacknowledged artists. So can you talk about what it was like to work with her and kind of build that complex relationship on screen?
It was, I loved it. Yeah, I loved it. It was just complex is the word. It was full of like, every scene had a sort of, was moving the story along and had a very, very different flavour. And I think, I guess because of their relationship, because they're both sort of outsiders to the sort of society that they want to be in, there's a lot of common ground there. Similarly with Bluebell, actually, there's that common ground. They're kind of people who are sort of who move between classes and groups of people, but who are sort of destined to be pushed out into the outside. So that kind of defines their relationship as a starting point. And then obsession is the other word. I mean, that is like one of the themes of this show. It runs underneath everything, and it's there in Elizabeth's book, like clear as crystal. Just people who have this deep, deep obsession, which comes from their circumstances, trying to make it in a harsh world, but also just this kind of obsession in art and in science, and this time when people were kind of living and dying for what they wanted to do. So I guess Iris and Silas really share that, and that's the kind of beginning of their bond. They're both people, like, he sees in her kind of a kindred spirit. He's like, you're everything that I am. And in that way as well, he, like a lot of the men in the story, he sort of projects what he wants to onto her. And that's a running theme, actually, from the artists to the scientists to throughout the show is this idea of sort of the muse and, you are the answer to all of my problems, and I'm going to put that on you. So there's that element as well. So yeah, it was brilliant, like having those two-handers with a brilliant actor who is, giving you loads, and you've got all that to play for. It's just great fun.
And can you talk a little bit about, like, you get to wear these really cool costumes in this and, be part of this kind of Victorian era. How did you prepare for that? Because you hang around with, a lot of the pre-Raphaelite brotherhood in this. And it's, it's very true of that era that did exist. So how did you kind of get into your role, and how did you prepare for that, aside from reading her book?
I think it was definitely looking at the atmosphere, those paintings and stuff at that time, and sort of trying to emulate a lot of those poses as well. I think living in this sort of social media world, we have such a different idea of beauty than what was then, and suck in all the lumps and bumps that we don't particularly like. But in this period of time, it was about embracing every bit of your body. So I definitely feel like that informed the movement and the general soul and sense of the character. I think what I enjoyed most and what you sort of have to be mentally prepared for was the scene in the pub. She sort of drifts between chaos and humour so quickly, and anger. There's one part where she's having this conversation where she's really picking and prodding at Silas, and she tries to make a joke straight after she's been slapped, and then she's really angry and she's really upset. And it all really comes from a place of trying to mask your own emotions, to not give too much away. And I think that was something that you had to look under, of letting it all sort of sit at a 5. So yeah, it was fun.
And obviously you've got, like I mentioned, the morbid undertones, the taxidermy, the porcelain dolls, and the job you do alongside Gideon as well. So this Angler series is kind of a very gothic horror element to it as well. What do you hope viewers will kind of take away when they watch this?
I hope they're transported.
Yeah.
It's all I look for in a play, a film, a TV show. I hope they're genuinely, just transported into the story, and it's beautifully constructed and shot. It's art is such a big theme, and as Saoirse said, those paintings inform so much of the show. Actually, I don't know, you can't put a word on it, but whatever the tone of those paintings, those pre-Raphaelite paintings is. So there was, it's a beautifully crafted show, and I just hope that
I hope
Yeah.
you all enjoyed as much as we enjoyed making it.
Yeah.
Well, I enjoyed it very much. So
Aw,
thank you very
you.
much. Thank you very much for speaking to
Thank you
me.
very
Thank you.